Mohenjo Daro Sindhi, lit. Mound of the Dead Men, is an archaeological site in Larkana district, Sindh, Pakistan. Built c. 2500 BCE, it was the largest settlement of the ancient Indus Valley Civilization and one of the world's earliest major cities, contemporaneous with the civilizations of ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, Minoan Crete, and Norte Chico. With an estimated population of at least 40,000 people, Mohenjo Daro prospered for several centuries, but by c. 1700 BCE had been abandoned, fourth, along with other large cities of the Indus Valley Civilization. The site was not rediscovered until the 1920s. Significant excavation has since been conducted at the site of the city, which was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980, the first site in South Asia to be so designated. 5. The site is currently threatened by erosion and improper restoration. 6. The city's original name is unknown. Based on his analysis of a Mohenjo Daro seal, Iravata Mahadevan speculates that the city's ancient name could have been Kukutarma, the city Arma of the rooster Kukuta. Citation needed. Cockfighting may have had ritual and religious significance for the city. Citation needed. Mohenjo Daro may also have been a point of diffusion for the clade of the domesticated chicken found in Africa, Western Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Mohenjo Daro, the modern name for the site, has been interpreted as Mound of the Dead in Sindhi. Location map showing the major sites and theorized extent of the Indus Valley Civilization, including the location of the Mohenjo Daro site. Mohenjo Daro is located off the right west bank of the lower Indus River in Larkana district, Sindh, Pakistan. It lies on a Pleistocene ridge in the floodplain of the Indus, around 28 kilometers 17 miles from the town of Larkana. To 10 historical context, Mohenjo Daro was built in the 26th century BCE. 11. It was one of the largest cities of the ancient Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization. 12. Which developed c. 3000 BCE from the prehistoric Indus culture. At its height, the Indus civilization spanned much of what is now Pakistan and North India, extending westwards to the Iranian border, south to Gujarat in India, and northwards to an outpost in Bactria, with major urban centers at Harappa, Mohenjo Daro, Lothal, Kalibangan, Dholavira, and Rakhigarhi. Mohenjo Daro was the most advanced city of its time, with remarkably sophisticated civil engineering and urban planning. 13. When the Indus civilization went into sudden decline, c. 1900 BCE, Mohenjo Daro was abandoned. Dafti, rediscovery and excavation, archaeological ruins at Mohenjo Daro. The ruins of the city remained undocumented for around 3,700 years until R.D. Banerjee, an officer of the Archaeological Survey of India, visited the site in 1919-20, identifying what he thought to be a Buddhist stupa 150-500 CE, known to be there, and finding a flint scraper which convinced him of the site's antiquity. This led to large-scale excavations of Mohenjo Daro, led by K.N. Dixit in 1924-25 and John Marshall in 1925-26. 15. In the 1930s, major excavations were conducted at the site under the leadership of Marshall, D.K. Dikshita, and Ernest Mackay. Further excavations were carried out in 1945 by Mortimer Wheeler and his trainee, Ahmad Hassan Dani. The last major series of excavations were conducted in 1964 and 1965 by George F. Dales. After 1965, excavations were banned due to weathering damage to the exposed structures, and the only projects allowed at the site since have been salvage excavations, surface surveys, and conservation projects. In the 1980s, German and Italian survey groups led by Michael Janssen and Maurizio Tosi used less invasive archaeological techniques such as architectural documentation, surface surveys, and localized probing to gather further information about Mohenjo Daro. 5. A dry core drilling conducted in 2015 by Pakistan's National Fund for Mohenjo Daro revealed that the site is larger than the unearthed area. 16. Mohenjo Daro has a planned layout with rectilinear buildings arranged on a grid plan. 17. Most were built of fired and mortared brick. Some incorporated sun-dried mud brick and wooden superstructures. The covered area of Mohenjo Daro is estimated at 300 hectares. 18. The Oxford Handbook of Cities in World History offers a weak estimate of a peak population of around 40,000. 19. The sheer size of the city and its provision of public buildings and facilities suggests a high level of social organization. The city is divided into two parts, the so-called citadel and the lower city. The citadel, a mud brick mound around 12 meters, 39 feet high, is known to have supported public baths, a large residential structure designed to house about 5,000 citizens, and two large assembly halls. The city had a central marketplace with a large central well. Individual households or groups of households obtained their water from smaller wells. Wastewater was channeled to covered drains that lined the major streets. Some houses, presumably those of more prestigious inhabitants, include rooms that appear to have been set aside for bathing, and one building had an underground furnace, known as a hypocaust, possibly for heated bathing. Most houses had inner courtyards, with doors that opened onto side lanes. Some buildings had 2 stories, major buildings, the Great Bath. In 1950, Sir Mortimer Wheeler identified one large building in Mohenjo Daro as a Great Granary. Certain wall divisions in its massive wooden superstructure appeared to be grain storage bays, complete with air ducts to dry the grain. According to Wheeler, carts would have brought grain from the countryside and unloaded them directly into the bays. However, Jonathan Mark Kenoyer noted the complete lack of evidence for grain at the granary, which he argued might therefore be better termed a great hall of uncertain function. 14. Close to the Great Granary is a large and elaborate public bath, sometimes called the Great Bath. From a colonnaded courtyard, steps lead down to the brick-built pool, which was waterproofed by a lining of bitumen. The pool measures 12 meters, 39 feet long, 7 meters, 23 feet wide, and 2.4 meters, 7.9 feet deep. It may have been used for religious purification. Other large buildings include a pillared hall, thought to be an assembly hall of some kind, and the so-called College Hall, a complex of buildings comprising 78 rooms, thought to have been a priestly residence. Mother Goddess Idol, the Mother Goddess. Discovered by John Marshall in 1931, the idol appears to mimic certain characteristics that match the Mother Goddess belief common in many early Near East civilizations. 41. Sculptures and figurines depicting women have been observed as part of Harappan culture and religion, as multiple female pieces were recovered from Marshall's archaeological digs. 41. These figures were not categorized correctly, according to Marshall, meaning that where they were recovered from the site is not actually clear. One of said figures is 18.7 centimeters tall and is currently on display at the National Museum of Pakistan in Karachi. 41. The fertility and motherhood aspects on display on the idols is represented by the female genitalia that is presented in an almost exaggerated style, as stated by Marshall, with him inferring that such figurines are offerings to the goddess, as opposed to the typical understanding of them being idols representing the goddess's likeness. 41. Because of the figurines being unique in terms of hairstyles, body proportions, as well as headdresses and jewelry, there are theories as to who these figurines actually represent. 41. Shireen Ratnagar theorizes that because of their uniqueness and dispersed discovery throughout the site, that they could be figurines of ordinary household women who commissioned these pieces to be used in rituals or healing ceremonies to help aforementioned individual women. 40. Dancing Girl. Main article, Dancing Girl sculpture, The Dancing Girl. A bronze statuette dubbed The Dancing Girl, 10.5 centimeters, 4.1 in height, and about 4,500 years old, was found in HR area of Mohenjo Daro in 1926. It is now in the National Museum, New Delhi. 40 Tower. In 1973, British archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler described the item as his favorite statuette. She's about 15 years old, I should think, not more, but she stands there with bangles all the way up her arm and nothing else on. A girl perfectly for the moment, perfectly confident of herself and the world. There's nothing like her, I think, in the world. John Marshall, another archaeologist at Mohenjo Daro, described the figure as a young girl, her hand on her hip in a half-impudent posture, and legs slightly forward as she beats time to the music with her legs and feet. 43. The archaeologist Gregory Postle said of the statuette, "We may not be certain that she was a dancer, but she was good at what she did and she knew it." The statue led to 2 important discoveries about the civilization. First, that they knew metal blending, casting, and other sophisticated methods of working with ore. And secondly, that entertainment, especially dance, was part of the culture.